So we need to learn how to have dialogue with those we disagree with. Because let's face it, the alternative to civil discourse is civil war. I'll say that one more time. The alternative to civil discourse is civil war. Now, the words of Thomas Paine aren't lost on me when he said, I prefer peace, but if trouble must come, let it come in my time, so that my children can live in peace. Now, past the half-century mark, I'm not exactly combat age. But with a teenager in college and a toddler in the back of the room, I can tell you that I don't want my inheritance to my children to be a world that's worse off than it was for my doctor. If we don't learn to talk to one another, that's what we're going to give them. And unfortunately, we have a lot of things that are working against us. If you watch mainstream media, and I don't even really have to go down that road, right? The information we're getting is possibly less than accurate, less than reliable. Can I say that? Okay. And social media is a bit of a pariah, is it not? If you were to look at my social media feed, it looks like almost everybody in the country is a conservative. So those that are on the left must be just total nut jobs and all by themselves. That's true. These leftist ideas are pretty radical, are they not? But what we don't realize is there's a bunch of people that are liberal that aren't leftist. Can I say that? There are some. Believe it or not, there are some, and we are convinced by social media that there's not. Why is that? Because if the opposite side is so diverse from us that we can't even have a conversation, we're never going to get any progress. We're never going to move forward as a country. All we're going to do is drive that divide greater and greater and greater. There's one other thing that's kind of working against us, and that's our own ignorance. We have this tendency that we latch onto the headline, but we don't actually get beyond indoctrination into education, right? And so I want to encourage you to become more educated. And I'm going to use one example. So, where in the Constitution is separation of church and state? That's why I love this crowd. We know this, right? But how many times have you seen video after video where they talk about separation of church and state? It's a constitutional right to have separation of church and state. Where did it come from? So I have here several copies. If you've never read the entire letter from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptist Association, it's a short read. You should read it. As a matter of fact, I've included on here the letter that prompted that one, and that's the letter from the Danbury Baptist Association to President Thomas Jefferson. You should read both of them. It's one page. It's an easy read. Come see me. I'll be glad to give it to you. And what you'll find is when you read that separation of church and state came from a letter. It's not a constitution. And when you read it in context, then you know that the wall of separation between church and state doesn't mean that we should have a godless government. No, quite to the contrary. We see from our founders time and time again, God is a requisite for a healthy government. What we do have is a wall of separation to prevent a state-run church system. Right? But until we educate ourselves, how can we have an educated civil discourse if all we're doing is driving ahead? So we need to have educated conversations with those people that disagree with us and inform them of what the truth is. And when you're having some of those conversations, I want to remind you to be like Charlie. I don't know how many times I saw these debates, and they ended just like this. There's a God who created you and loves you. Be like Charlie.